Good morning. Welcome to Sunday morning. Welcome to August. Nice to see y'all. I should let you know I've got woke up this morning with a little something in the back of my throat. So if my voice gives out during this, that's the way it goes. All things are impermanent. So also, I need to mention that I had talked off and on about starting something on Wednesday evenings, and that is still not coming together due to circumstances, life on life's terms. So hope to get to that at some point. I thought today, at least for the first part, I would focus on mindfulness and breathing and why we do that, and walk you through a more focused meditation and mindfulness and breathing. The mind is not a physical object. And okay, I just got a message that someone's having audio difficulties. It may work better on YouTube, or you can sign off and come back. See what happens. 20 years in Silicon Valley taught me one thing, and that is that this stuff doesn't work all that well. It's not that reliable. Of course, they don't tell you that when they're hitting you up for $800 at the Apple store, but maybe I'll do a Dharma talk on reliability later. The mind is not a physical object. To borrow from the Doctor Who universe, it's a TARDIS. A TARDIS is a device that lets you travel in time and space. The mind can take you off into the future where it tells you there are things to worry about and plan for and whatever. It can take you back into the past where you can ruminate and rehash what happened yesterday and how to do it differently. It does this all the time on its own. It spends most of its time really not in the present moment. And part of the thing about mindfulness meditation is we are training ourselves to live in the present moment, because this is where we actually do live, and this is where we can affect anything, including our own lives or anybody else's, to the degree that we can. And the body is always in the present moment, because the body is a physical object. It cannot leave the present moment. So focusing on the breath helps us stay where we are. It's helpful to have something to steady the mind and to help us have continuity of attention where the mind won't jump off so easily and get distracted. It helps us stay on this road and see where it takes us. It's like driving a car down the highway, and there are lots of exits and signs to distract you, like feelings and thoughts, etc. But we just drive by, following the breath as you would follow the road. And the more we exit and jump off the road, the longer it takes for the mind to settle. So what focusing on the breath gives us is continuity of attention that allows us to connect to something deeper and deeper within us. It's not so much a clinging to the breath, because as I say over and over again, this is a gentleness practice. The mind does what it does, and we're training it the way we would train a puppy. If you're training a puppy to heel, it wanders away and you pull it back, and it wanders away and you pull it back. You don't yell at it, kick it, jerk it back violently. You treat it with love and care, and you bring it back. The same way we bring the mind back to attention on the body. gently, firmly. So it's not so much a clinging as it is a strong attention or intention, an intention and a commitment for these minutes to stay with the breathing. And if you get pulled off into other things, thoughts, feelings, etc., it's okay. You may notice right away, or some period of time might go by. Just practice with that. One, one way to practice with that is just to name it, thinking, and come back to focusing on your breathing. Gently, lovingly, intentionally, with the intention to stay with your breath, and keep coming back, keep coming back, keep coming back. Because it is the nature of spiritual practice to repeat. So, we're going to practice a little on that, and I'm going to walk you through more of a guided meditation on breathing. So, why don't we start with just finding a meditation posture? And just spend a couple of moments on that, just settling in. You want to be in a posture where you're awake and alert, but not like rigid and tense. Sort of letting your body settle. And using your posture as part of nurturing your intention to stay alert. And gently close your eyes. And we start by making a strong connection to the breathing by taking a few long, slow, deep breaths. Breathing in deeply and a long, slow exhale. Relaxing your body on the exhale. Relaxing the whole body. Breathing in, long, slow inhale, and a long, slow exhale. Just relaxing the body as you breathe out. And letting your breathing return to normal. Continuing to relax your body. Relaxing the muscles in your face. Letting your eyes settle into their sockets. Just continuing to relax your body on the exhale. Relaxing your shoulders. relaxing the belly, soft belly. Just let your belly hang. You don't have to hold yourself tightly. Just continuing to relax the body. And now settling yourself on the body's experience of breathing. Just letting your awareness and your attention rest there. Settling yourself on your awareness of the body breathing. Wherever you experience that, and wherever that experience is the most comforting, the most pleasant, the most compelling for your mind. For some people, it's the movement of the belly or the chest. For some people, it's the sensations of the nostrils. For some people, it's all of it. It's being aware of the whole breath body. And as you exhale, continue to settle into your breathing. As if breathing is the main highway, breathing is where you will stay. Just as you would stay attentive to the road as you drove, not let your mind wander too much, if at all. When it does, just bring your mind back. So let your mind, let your attention stay with the breathing. Not straying from the breath, not easily pulled aside by all the exits and the signs along the road. Continuity with breathing supported with every exhale, relaxing into the breathing. And rather than straining, stay with the breath, just relaxing into breathing, relaxing as you exhale, receiving the inhale. And for these few minutes that we are meditating, trust that all you really need to do is stay close to your breathing, letting your thinking recede behind you like the exits that you pass on the road, breathing in and out. staying inside your breathing, staying connected to your breathing. And as we come towards the end of this sitting, letting your attention stay with your breathing. And letting whatever attention, focus, centeredness you may experience from this practice help us to gaze upon the world around us with kindness and compassion. May whatever benefits or centering you receive from this practice, from this meditation, radiate into your household, into your neighborhood, into the world around you. Into the broader world at large. And may it be that the benefits from this practice nurture for you a way of bringing kindness and compassion to your interactions as you move around in the world. May the benefits of this practice be of benefit to all beings everywhere. May all beings be happy. May all beings be well. May all beings be safe. May all beings be at ease and at peace. Thank you for your practice. Last week, I should mention that I have put the standard stuff in the chat box that I always put in the chat box. But this time I have added my contact information. If anybody wants to get in touch with me for any questions or discussion about the practice, meditation, whatever we talk about here, anything else really, I've included my email address and phone number. Last week I was talking about the second noble truth, attachment and clinging as a root of suffering. And I thought I would continue that theme today. And I came upon a passage in the Dharmapada. This is the Dharmapada, my little pocket-sized version, a collection of the sayings of Buddha. I have a couple of different translations. This passage is in a chapter called Oneself. And it says, in it, the Buddha says, don't give up your own welfare for the sake of others' welfare, however great. Clearly know your own welfare and be intent on the highest good. Don't give up your own welfare for the sake of others' welfare, however great. Clearly know your own welfare and be intent on the highest good. There is all manner of ways to parse that. In the Al-Anon and 12-step circles, one of the things they say is you do not have to set yourself on fire to keep somebody else warm. So I thought I would use that as a jumping off point to talk about a particularly devastating form of attachment, and that's codependence. And I define codependence as sacrificing your own well-being for the welfare and caretaking of others. It's an easy trap. We want to be compassionate. We want to be helpful. It's talked about a lot in addiction and recovery circles, but it's broader than that. It involves, at least in the addiction process, it involves enabling bad behavior by shielding people from the consequences of their actions, but it's broader than that. I had a neighbor down the street from me when I lived in California. She had an ongoing issue with her shoulder and needed surgery. And she kept putting it off and putting it off and putting it off because her teenage boys, we're talking about 18, 19 teenage boys, not 13, needed her to do stuff at the house. And eventually started to lose some mobility in her shoulder. That's what I mean by codependence. The family I worked with has spent thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on their son's rehab, but never encouraged him to take responsibility. And he kept relapsing and relapsing and relapsing. It seems counterintuitive, especially if you're a parent of somebody who's struggling. I knew a woman who felt that she kept having to take care of things for her boss, even though he had fired her because she didn't want him to feel unhappy and overwhelmed. Codependence. And she was drowning. She couldn't look for another job, and so it turns out the more we tether our sense of well-being to the well-being of other people, and to the lives of others, we lose our ability to be happy and free. It's a close cousin to destination addiction, which I talked to last week. The idea that I will be okay when. In the passage that I read, don't give up your own welfare for the sake of others' welfare, no matter how great. It begs the question of how do we balance paying attention to ourselves and our needs, self-care, and paying attention to caring in the community and taking care of others. Balancing generosity and self-care. Generosity is important. There's a list of 10 qualities that lead to enlightenment in Buddhist scripture, and the first one is generosity. And I'm going to give a talk on that at some point down the line. But being so generous that you are drowning is not generosity. So let's talk a little bit about self-care instead. How do we address this balance? Here are some things to look at. It's really difficult for some people to say no, especially in light of someone else's suffering. So how are you at saying no, especially when you really want to, but it makes you anxious? So if you're struggling with that, then are you going off to do something because it makes you anxious not to, or to be helpful? Are you taking care of yourself? Are you taking care of someone else? Are you sacrificing your well-being? Because when you say yes, when you actually want to say no, all that leads to resentment later. Learning to say no, even when someone is unhappy. I talked for a nanosecond last week about being a recovering addict. A bunch of people I know want to go out to a bar, and I don't do bars. I do clubs where I go to see music, but I stay away from the bar. Some people are like, you're being antisocial. So, no, I'm taking care of myself. I'm allowed to say no to something that does not nurture my well-being. And there are often people who are unhappy about that. Learning to say no is extremely important, and it's a part of radical self-care. In the face of others' needs and struggles, how do we make decisions to honor our self-care and still participate in a helpful and compassionate way? And I can't answer that for people. I wish I could. Um, if I could, then before I close my therapy practice, I would like to just do one session therapy and send them on their way and charge $1,000. I've never claimed to have answers. But my teacher is a guy named Gil Fronsdale. He's in California. He streams out. If you go to YouTube and look for the Insight Meditation Center, he streams every day. It's all archived. He's great. And I approached him with this one time. And he gave me a really interesting and vital piece of advice. He said, if you're thinking about going down a road, taking a course of action, if the thought of doing that opens your heart, go do that. If the thought of doing that makes you feel like contracting, don't do that. Trust that. Trust your body. Yes, there are important things to do and people have needs, but at what point are we contracting? At what point are we serving our anxiety and fear rather than actually being helpful? At what point are we giving up our own well-being, and in what Buddhist terms, giving up our non-clinging state? Each of us has to decide where to draw the line. So in the heat of those moments, how do we discern? Well, I talked at the beginning of today's session about breathing. Our mind starts to spin around. How do we take care of ourselves? How do I help that person? Where's the intersection? And at any moment, we can pause and just take 10 slow, deep breaths. In fact, pausing and taking 10 slow, deep breaths is a great tool anywhere you are. Just put your hand on your belly, close your eyes, and breathe in such a way so that your belly is pushing your hand out. Now, you may be contemplating this driving down the road. Don't close your eyes. But this is a really great tool. You're at work one day and you are being reminded why you wouldn't do this if they weren't paying you. Come back to your breathing. When you slow down your breathing, everything slows down. The mind clears just a little bit. I'm talking about a radical form of self-care because we live in a culture where taking care of yourself is not the norm. It's considered selfish. But the Buddha also said in that same passage, oneself indeed is one's own protector. What other protector can there be? As long as we tether our well-being to someone else and someone else's needs, we can't be happy, joyous, and free. That doesn't mean we don't grieve for the suffering of people we care about. And it doesn't mean a kind of indifference. It means being able to tolerate. It includes being able to tolerate difficult states of watching in the world as it unfolds, staying centered, recognizing this doesn't feel good, but still being mindful to make choices for right action. So, I wish I could tell you I had the solution to this, but I don't. Other than to say, self-care, caring for your own well-being, it's important for that to be the jumping off point from which we go forward to care for the world. So, questions or comments? I'd like to welcome Olivia. I haven't seen you here before. John, it's nice to see you again.
Thank you for doing this, Ken. This is my second week doing this. I was here last week and really helped me out last week during the week. There's some things you said, particularly the puppy dog analogy. That's me. My inner puppy dog wanders off
all the time.
And it's really helpful for me to hear the words "bringing back with love," because more often than not I don't. And so I found that really helpful.
Appreciate that. Happy to show up for you. It's really, people have come to me. I've been teaching people to meditate off and on for years. And the 12-step thing I teach people, I sponsor to do it. When I was, before I closed my therapy practice, I was always teaching clients to do it. And people come back to me all the time and say, I can't do it. I'm not doing it right. Because my mind wanders all over the place. I can't get it to be quiet. The mind doesn't do quiet. You just have to train it. And people come back to me very frustrated. And I'm like, no. Part of this practice is learning to be compassionate and gentle with ourselves in every moment.
Yeah.
You can't really do this wrong. The doing it is the doing it. So I'm glad you are leaning into that.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much again. I really appreciate it.
Appreciate you being here. I will be here next week. Hope to see you all.
Yeah, you too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.